Peter Magubane's legacy as a pioneering photojournalist endures as a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who fight for justice and equality. His photographs continue to serve as enduring historical records and emotional testaments to the resilience of the human spirit, offering a potent reminder of the power of visual storytelling in advocating for social change. The veteran photojournalist passed away on Monday. And joining us in studio is internationally renowned photographer Neo Ntsoma to pay tribute to Peter Magubane, who saved her from dropping out of college. Neo, very good morning. Thanks for joining us. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me, Simpiwe.
It's an absolute pleasure.
It is.
And let's talk about how you met Peter Magubane and how he mentored you, and specifically how your mentorship helped change your approach to photography and storytelling.
Wow, you know, it's been a long journey that I've traveled with this man that I honored, that I really respected so much.
Yes.
I'm still in mourning, as you can see. I'm really heartbroken that we had to lose him, much as it was expected. But I just feel like there was still certain things that I needed to achieve so that I could celebrate with him. My meeting with Peter Magubane started, I would say, the story starts in 1992. I'm a student at Peninsula Technikon, which is now known as Peninsula University of Technology. First student, don't have any reference of any black photographers in the country or even overseas. And we had a stocked up like library. There were books there. We could go and sit and research there, but there was not even one book that was authored by a black photographer.
Yeah.
So I found myself in a state of confusion, and, you know, when you just ask yourself, like, am I in the right profession? Did I actually choose the right career for myself?
Right.
You know, because everything is foreign. We thought about the only photographers really that were mentioned in our history of photography class were either Americans or French, and they were all inventors of something. It was more science-specific kind of like approach in their work. And I wanted to create images that will tell a different story of black South Africans. That was my interest in photography. I needed to rebrand my people, the black nation, because I was more accustomed to seeing pictures in the newspapers that were of violence, people of protest, black people just either ducking bullets, being shot at, you know, corpses lying around, the type of pictures that really Peter Magubane were producing at the time. They were necessary. But I just felt like there was another life, you know, that the world should actually realize that we have it. We dine with our families with fork and knives, you know. We drive around in cars and looking all fleshy. You know, that was the kind of images that I really wanted to capture. But then, when I was still in that state of frustration, like, am I even going to drop out? I decided that I was going to drop out. I wasn't going to come back after the first semester. You know, I've already made up my mind. And then there was an announcement that Peter Magubane and Nyaga Schoenberg were going to be at the Baxter Theatre attending an event, and they were going to be given an opportunity to present their portfolios and also to tell their stories about photography and all that. That moment right there, just the mention of Peter Magubane saved me from dropping out. Because then it was like, I am in the right profession. There is somebody, and he's prominent. You know, underline that prominent, their prominency is the one thing that actually like grabbed my attention. It really grabbed my attention. I went there with my classmate. Unfortunately, much to my disappointment, he didn't pitch. But then I understand, because it was explained that he had just recently lost his son, Charles, who was also a photographer, by the way. And he had been killed somewhere next to a hostel. His body was found at a hostel somewhere. So,
but in hindsight, he gave you that inspiration to pursue your dream, to pursue your goal. And here you are today. He gave you that strength, isn't it? And I want us to delve deeper into that with regards to what kind of lessons or pieces of advice that he imparted in you that contributed to your development, to your career development, as it were, as a photojournalist, and advice that you still use today.
There's so many, you know, like our relationship, it's so multifaceted in the way that I started with him right at the beginning of my journey in photography, my career, and it got to a point where we would collaborate in projects, to a point of like sitting in panels together. So there were different advice that I got from him, but the one advice that I will always carry with me is that be rooted in who you are. Never divert your plans. You have an agenda, just to work through it until you achieve it. And my agenda, which also influenced me to actually pursue a career in photography, was representation of the Black nation. So seeing his pictures of the Rivonia trial, for instance, looking at how Mama Winnie Mandela was dressed up, and that generation of our elders in society, how they used to dress up so nicely, so elegantly.
Sure.
It's the image that I really wanted to put out.
Yes.
So that advice, I have carried it throughout. My documentary work, there's a fashion element to it, a very strong fashion element to it. I'm always focusing on the clothes, because you have to understand that photography, like fashion, is not just about clothes and representation. It can also be a way of resisting something like oppression. They used it, that generation used it to resist oppression. My generation is more of an expression. So I've always been, like most of my projects that I've worked on, they have like that strong element of representation, identity, fashion being the strong influence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, clearly, he did play a huge role in lighting up a spark in your life with regards to photography and pursuing that as a profession. So how do you hope to carry forward that legacy that has been, imparted on you by Peter Magubane in your career development and advancement, and in particular in the photography community?
I think I was handed on the baton like many years ago.
Yeah.
I was one of the fortunate ones that really got to benefit from him.
Yes.
My generation of photographers, the ones that emerged after democracy, or maybe just at the verge of when we were just about to gain that democracy, like to be in the independent South Africa, we were able to share spaces with people like Peter Magubane. So we managed to get tips, advice in real time, on locations, on assignments. That on its own is a privilege. And not reading about how they conducted their work, they approached their work in books or whatever. We were there with them, side by side, on assignments with them. So that's a gift. And I always try to remind my generation that we have a bigger legacy to carry. That generation, they actually made sure that they give their all to the society, to the community, to us, the younger generation, and it's up to us to see how we actually advance it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite interestingly, you and I were just having a discussion off camera about, the role that photography plays in our society, and the different types of photography and the different genres of photography. And you did say that you guys are not just snappers, but you are crafters of ideas, and that resonated with me as well. So I want us to talk about, your finding your passion in photography as someone who grew up in rural Mafikeng.
I always ask myself, like, what else could I have chosen to do, Because I was surrounded by newspapers and magazines. My parents were subscribers of all sorts of magazines, from Huisgenoot.
So the profession chose you, not the other way around.
The profession chose me. It's just unfortunate that my father, the newspapers that he used to buy, they were lying around, they were all in Afrikaans. And we have to understand that the country at the time, they were not even interested in showing a positive side of, So those are the only images I was so used to seeing. And I don't have a better answer to give you than to say that I love this profession and I'm here to stay. And like you said, we are not taking pictures, we are crafting images, we are image crafters. Every image has to be intentional. There's another lesson that I learned from Peter Magubane, that you don't just click away and leave. And you don't come back from an assignment without a picture. Even if the story has ended and you arrived there just as they were picking up, Make sure that you find something to capture that will be a proof that you were there, and it has to be an excellent image.
Sure, you just dropped a bomb there.
Yeah.
You don't just click away.
You don't just click away.
Lovely chatting to you, Neo. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
I love your work. I've been going through some of your images, and it's absolute magic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Great stuff. That was Neo Ntsoma talking to us about the late photojournalist Peter Magubane.